Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production. Someone asked me recently, what can MGuitararchitect do that, some of the other products can't do? And I'm going to show you today. One of the things I'm going to show you is how to do multi-band guitar amps. Or you could actually do this with cabinets too if you wanted to. But basically, the idea is if I have something where I like the high end of one, but I don't like the low end, we can combine two amps together to get a unique mix. So I have this amp here called Seattle. I'll let you hear it. I like that, but let's say, the low end is good, but the high end, just a little bit too papery for me. So let's find something else that I think sounds better. I'll just move this up for a second. Let's add another amp in here. Now, by default, this is going to the input. I don't want that because that's going to create noise. So I'm going to set it to input 1. So it's going through our gate here. Like that. Should be good. Now, actually, let's go in here and add a mixer right before our cabinet. Boom. Right-click this, input 1. So we have that first Seattle amp, and input 2 for the amp we're going to use later. And we're going to use steel input 2 here, so nothing else is coming out of there. I want to mute 1, which is our Seattle amp, just so I don't hear that. I want to hear just this. So let's look through here. I think I know what I want here. I like this Venus amp. So we have this one. And we have our Seattle amp. So you see they sound very different. The Seattle amp, I like the low end, it's a bit tighter. And the Venus amp, I like the high end better. It's not quite as harsh. So let's put these together. We already have the mixer here, and I'm going to show you a really easy way here. What we can do is just go here and select crossover. I'm going to solo this first one here, and we have it set to analog. This one is going to be minimum phase. If you use analog LP, linear phase, etc., what's going to happen is this is going to introduce latency. So if you want, no phase problems, you can do that, but it's going to have latency. So I wouldn't recommend that. You can always record it using this analog, and then afterwards, when you're going to actually mix it down, you can switch to one of these and see if it sounds better. To be honest, I think the analog is usually fine, but if you find that, oh no, I think it needs linear phase, try one of those. Anyways, we have this here. What we're going to do is you see here we have different splits, and you see it's splitting it here. What I want to do is first just solo one of these, in this case the bottom, because I want the lower frequencies here, and we're just going to play something and just move this around. Can't even hear it, too low. Another thing you can do is you can mess with the slope. So here I have it 24 decibels per octave, but I can move it down to 12. So move it wherever you think you're getting, the right amount of low end. Once I have that, I'll just leave this soloed here. Everything I'm going to leave the same. I'm just going to go over here, and I am going to copy this. You can actually make this more than 2 outputs, but for this, we don't need that. We're going to go over here right after the second amp, the Venus amp, right-click it, paste crossover. Now, you see, there's going to be a problem here because we have this input 2 here, but input 2 is going to be this low band here, which we don't want. We actually want this. But since we're in lane 2, this is being output to 3. So what we want to do here is instead of input 2, we want input 3, like this. And this one, we can turn this off completely, which might be good. But to be honest, since we have it soloed, nothing's going to go out there anyways. So we're just going to go over here, solo input 2. Listen to this. This is all our high end. And if all that's okay, we should be able to unsolo both of them, and we should be able to hear them both together. Now that's sounding better to me, but you might be thinking like, what if I don't like where this crossover is? What we can do is we can easily make this so it's adjustable. So we have this, it says output here, but we don't need that. We can delete that. We're going to click clear and learn. We're going to move both of these here, this crossover frequency. When we're done, just click record off. Make sure you're using the clear and learn for that. And we can just label this crossover. Now you should have them here. If you didn't do that, you can manually add them here like this, except I think it's a little bit more easy. To me, it's much easier just using this clear and learn feature and moving it. So once we have this, let's set the range for them. Let's say down to 100 and all the way up to, 3,000 hertz, I guess is good. So that should be a good range there. It's set to percentage here, which I don't really like. Just use first parameter, so that way we can actually see the percentages on there. And then make sure this second one is set to use first parameter's range. So that means these two are going to move together. So everything should be good. Close it, and we'll just look. As we move this down, boom, boom. So if I set this to 3,000, the other one's set to 3,000. If I move this down to 100 here, the other one's set to 100. So now we can sweep between these like this. Now we should have, perfectly nice sound. Also, I'm not sure if I did this, but you might want to check to make sure that both your amps have relatively the same volume. They should actually be pretty close in this case, because I'm not seeing, rapid volume jumps. But just in case, it might be a good idea to do that. Another thing you can do, which I don't know if I'd recommend, but you can change the panorama for this. So I could move this down and this up. So my low end is going to be on the left side and my high end is going to be on the right, like this. Luckily, it sounds like my A string's a little bit out of tune. I apologize for that. So that's basically what you can do with that. You can also flip it to the other side if you want it reversed. So that will give you some stereo width if you want it. You may not always want to do that. And this is an easy way to get that crossover and manipulate it here. If for some reason you think, you know what, I actually like this, but I want to do it with more amps. All you have to do is switch this from, let me get rid of these two. See this crossover here, right click it, and it says now 2 outputs. I can switch this to 3 here. Now it should have 3 outputs. If I move the mixer away, you're seeing it has 3 outputs here, and I can move these. And you can just do the same thing with the crossover. You can have crossover 1 and crossover 2 and manipulate these all together. And so by doing that, you should have some nice, interesting sounds that you can come up with by combining all the amps we have in here. There's lots and lots of sounds. And don't forget, we also have the neural amp loader. So you get the high end of, some clean amp, or in the low end of some dirty amp, or whatever you want. This same idea could also technically be used on the cabinets. If you wanted the low end of one cabinet and the high end of another cabinet, you could do that also. The possibilities are almost endless. But if you like this, give me a thumbs up. Leave me any questions and comments down below, and be sure to check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Till next time, see you.